In honor of Steel Ball Run dropping last week, today we are going to be doing a rating of every part in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Now, I'm going to do the rating. We're going to start off with the worst part and move all the way up to the best. The ratings are going to be out of 10, but I do have a quick disclaimer because it seems every time I talk about JoJo's, I have to emphasize this. I love the entirety of JoJo's. I don't think there's a single bad part, but obviously, just like everybody else, I have my favorite parts and I have my least favorite parts. So, if you want to have a conversation in depth in the comments, or a little bit more in depth, because I am going to go into detail, but if you want to have a conversation more in depth about why I don't like certain things or why some of the parts are a little bit lower, I'm fine to do that. But just keep in mind, I like all the parts. Just because I like your favorite part might be my least favorite doesn't mean I dislike it, right? Like, don't spread a bunch of hate for no reason, because I like all the parts. With that being said, let's get started, and we're going to start off with the lowest rated part in my opinion. The worst part of JoJo's. I say worst, so people are going to think negative, but it's still great. I think it's going to be part 4. Now, I know a lot of people love part 4, but I have one very simple reason, and I feel like it's not that crazy of a reason as to why it's the worst part. And in my opinion, part 4, the first 16 episodes are very unimportant. Now, I know JoJo's, for a lot of parts, has the issue where they don't really introduce the villain, things like that, blah, blah, blah. But the story of part 4 doesn't really start until Kira gets introduced, which is episode 17. And so the first 16 episodes are all about, like, Koichi and all the bullshit he does. And I like Koichi, and I like those episodes, but they are not very impactful. You remove those episodes from the show, you really aren't missing out on anything, honestly. The show continues pretty much exactly the same, and a lot of the characters that get a lot of screen time in the early parts don't even really help with the main fight, because the main fight's pretty much just Josuke, the little kid Hayato, Okoyasu, and Jotaro. Like, Rohan, Koichi, all the other people that they have don't really help. Now, I think the episodes are still good for the most part, other than Invisible Baby. Worst 2 episodes of JoJo's by far, not even close. But I do think in general, part 4 is very good. It's just the first 16 episodes just serve almost little to no purpose, honestly. They're good, but they're just not very meaningful. So that's the reason it's the lowest part for me. So part 4, I'm going to give it a solid 7 out of 10. I think it's a great part, but 16 episodes of pretty much just filler content, because most of it really doesn't matter at all, isn't really great. So I'm giving it a 7 out of 10 because I still think it's a good season for sure. It's just not the best. Next up, we have part 1. Now, a lot of people really don't like part 1, and I think part 1 is very underrated. I think Jonathan is a great character. It's just unfortunate we didn't get more of him, because I think he's a great character. We just don't get to see much of him. But I think part 1's great. I think the story in part 1's great. I think it just really lacks from a lack of flashiness, because although Jonathan's a good character, he's not really flashy. The only flashy person in this is Dio, and Dio obviously spends a lot of time like hiding out and stuff. So I think that's why a lot of people don't like part 1. But I think part 1's great, so I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 as well. It's just very short, and there's not, like I said, there's not a lot of flashy stuff to it, and there's not a lot of characters in it, and it's just very short. So I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. I think part 1's great and definitely underrated. Next, we have part 8. I'm going to give part 8 the next position because, to me, I think part 8, although it does it well, it does use like one of the worst, how do I explain it? One of the worst tropes in all of fiction, and that's memory loss. Now, like I said, I think they do the memory loss stuff well in part 8, but memory loss is still very stupid, and it's just not very entertaining. Honestly, I don't understand. I feel like most people, at least from what I see online, and maybe it's because I agree with it, they don't like memory loss stuff. Yet all these authors and creators are still like, oh, let's do all this stuff with memory loss. And I think that's the biggest part that hurts part 8, because part 8 has amazing characters. It has part 8 has decent characters. A lot of them, I'm not gonna lie, aren't really that great, but they have amazing stands, the fights are cool, and the story is decent, but the story would be so much better if it just wasn't about memory loss. Like, it's just not that entertaining, honestly. I'm still gonna give part 8 an 8 out of 10. I still think it's very solid. It's just memory loss stuff, in my opinion, is just really bad. Next, we're going to move on to part 9. Now, part 9 obviously is not even close to being finished, but it's very good so far. So it's just going to have an 8 out of 10. I'm not going to talk too much about part 9 because there's still so much to go, so much to see. But as of now, pretty good. So part 9, 8 out of 10 as well, giving it benefit of the doubt. Next, we're going to move into part 2. Now, part 2 is great, mainly because of the characters. I'm not going to lie, if you swap out some of the characters from other parts into this one, I don't think it succeeds as well, because people don't really like Hamon. I like Hamon, though, so I don't have a problem with any of that at all. But the characters in part 2 are very great, some of the best characters in the entire show, and that's why people like part 2, because I don't think people really care for the story of part 2, because I'm going to be honest, I don't really care about the vampires, but I do love the characters, right? In this part, Joseph's great, Caesar's great, Lisa's great. Von Stroheim's great. I mean, hell, even Smokey Brown, he don't really do anything, but he's a good character. A lot of the characters in part 2 are great, but the vampire stuff to me is not that cool. But other than that, it's a great, definitely carried by the characters. I'd give part 2 also an 8 out of 10. Next, we are going to move to part 5. Now, a lot of people love part 5. I love part 5 as well. I think it's amazing, and the only real problem part 5 has, in my opinion, is that some of the stands in this part are just way too strong. I mean, I think that's the reason the spoilers, well, if you're watching this, you probably know, but that's the reason the universe reset anyway, at least in my opinion, because when you have someone like Giorno around, what are you going to do? Nothing. You can't do nothing when Giorno's around, right? So I think that's the only problem that this part had, is it scaled some stands way too high, but I think it's an amazing part. I think all the characters are very likable. I think the stands are very likable. I think the biggest issue in this part is because it is so good, a lot of the characters get overrated, right? Like, people love Nacio, or however you say his name, the ice guy. He's lame, and he does nothing. I don't understand how people really like him that much. Also, you got people like Chocolata, people like a lot of the villains people like, or antagonists, I should say, and they don't really do anything. They're okay, I guess, right? And I'm not saying that to hate on people that think that, but I think they just think they're so good because, like, the rest of the part is so good. Like, you're liking it so much that you see somebody, you're gonna like them whether they're good or not. But I think part 9 is part 5, I meant, sorry, is very solid, and honestly, I have no problems with it. I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. But that means there are still 3 parts ahead of it. Next up, I'm going to give part 6 as well a 10 out of 10. You know the rest of the scores are going to be 10 out of 10, so I don't need to keep explaining them. But part 6 as well for me is going to be a 10 out of 10. I think it arguably has the best cast in all of JoJo's. There are very few bad characters in part 6. Also, part 6 arguably has the best story of all the parts. Like, it is great. And the ending of part 6, it's the best ending of any part. It's one of the best endings in anime. Part 6 is fantastic. I have no issues with it. And the people you'll see that hate on part 6, for the most part, is mainly because it has a lot of women in it. You know, it just is what it is. But I never understood people that hate on part 6, because they really hate on it because Jolene woman, right? But part 6 is amazing. I don't really have any issues with it. I think it's also a 10 out of 10, but I just like the other 2 parts more, which I will get into now. Now, the second best part of JoJo's, in my opinion, and, you know, I guess I have to talk about 1 and 2 at the same time, because people are going to want to know why I do this. I think number 2 is part 7. I think Steel Ball Run is the second best part, which means Stardust Crusaders to me is the best. Now, here's why I do believe that. I think Steel Ball Run, obviously, it's one of the greatest things ever written. It's fantastic. The story's great. The characters are great. The stands are great. My problem with part 7 isn't really a problem. Well, 1, I don't really like Johnny. That's what I will say. People like Johnny a lot. Johnny's a piece of shit. He's a terrible human being. I do not like him at all. He's an awful person, right? And we're supposed to cheer for him. I don't want Johnny to succeed. I want him to fail, because he's a piece of shit. But people like Johnny, which is fine, whatever. I think he's a good character, but I don't want to support Johnny. That's what I'm saying. Like, he's a good character, but he does not deserve the spotlight he gets, is what I'm saying. That's not why I have part 7 below, because part 7 is probably a better story than part 3. But the reason why I have part 3 higher is because it just is JoJo's. Like, part 3 is what defines JoJo's. Now, I know it's going to be like maybe some nostalgia or some bias, because also a lot of my favorite characters come from part 3, but part 3 is so grounded compared to every other part, and that's why Steel Ball Run works so well as well, because it's very grounded. But Stardust Crusaders is the blueprint for JoJo's, if we're being honest, right? And to me, that's why it ranks number 1. If you have Steel Ball Run ahead, honestly, if you have any part ahead, it makes sense. I mean, everybody has different personalities. People enjoy different parts, so honestly, I don't care which part you guys have at your number 1. But to me, Stardust Crusaders is the best part, hands down, for me. But like I said, every part of JoJo's is great, so if any of them are your favorite, then it's honestly fine. And I think that's the biggest thing about JoJo's, is that it is fantastic, but here's what I will say. Please don't be that guy, especially if you made it to this video, this part of the video, to be like, I don't agree with this guy, I'm gonna just hate for no reason, because at the end of the day, it's my opinion, bro. And I fuck with your guys' opinion, so I don't understand, you know, the hate on it, because anytime I talk about JoJo's, if I don't say everything about it is the greatest thing ever, which it's not, I get hate, which is strange. The JoJo's community hates JoJo's more than anybody else does. So yeah, with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe. Obviously the last 2 parts are going to be 10 out of 10. I love JoJo's. It's fantastic, and I can't wait for Steel Ball Run to finish. When that finishes up, of course, we're going to have an anime review on it, so I hope to see y'all in that video. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.